All right. Hey there, somebody's in there quick. Launchpad skills. How are you? Give me a second here to get all set up. Answer some comments and things. Come on, computers. All right, there we go. Hello. All right, just about there. Give me just 1 second. All right, I think we're good to go now. Who we got in here? Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany. Sarah, hello. LLJ, hello to you. Jonathan, good evening. I guess it's evening where you're at, I'm assuming. Valentina, Jasmine, Launchpad Skills, Rachel McVeigh, and Cora so far, and Joe. Hey, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. And thank you guys for joining tonight. I appreciate it. Adams TV is already asking a question here. Let's see. Do you know anything about button quails? Well, I know a little bit about button quails. What is it you're wanting to know exactly? Maybe I can help out. We'll see. Hey, DT Quail. And Sean Monahan, I guess. Monahan, I'm guessing I pronounced the name right. All right. Hope you guys are all having a good evening tonight. You're back. Yeah, good to see you back. Zachary's there. Hey, how are you? Zachary, treats are working out great. Zachary sent me some, Zachary, I hope that I'm pronouncing your last name right. Plass. I'm not sure if it's Plass or Place. Plass, I don't know. Zachary sent me some dog treats to test out on my dog, do a little bit of a review on. They were all natural. I don't have them in here. I was going to show them off. They're all natural dog treats. They were, let's see, a couple pieces of sausage. It was like offal sausage, not awful as in bad, but awful as in, you know, the organ meat sausage. Some jerky and, you know, a deer leg bone, and there was a duck foot and a couple other things. All natural, dried. Dog loves them. I think that that leg bone from that deer is probably his favorite. He doesn't let that thing out of his sight for very long. So thank you very much for that, Zachary. He is actually, if you guys are looking to purchase some dog treats, all natural dog treats, he sells them. Zachary, make sure I get this right. It's Z&C Pack Leader Dog Treats on Facebook. Hopefully I got that right. Check that out. He sells all natural dog treats that, you know, my dog loves them. They've worked out great for him. So, all right, what do we got here? Who else? Randall, hope you're having a great day and staying dry. Well, kind of staying dry. It is kind of rainy out. Good grief, it's been raining all week. We had ice come in 2 days ago, and well, yesterday I guess. Just it's rained all day today. It's been kind of everything's wet and soggy outside, but I'm doing okay. Houdini made it on time. Thank you for joining. Oh, no. Sean's got the flu. Man, I hope you get over that quick. The flu is no fun whatsoever. Quail are doing fine. They don't seem to mind the cold whatsoever. I get frozen eggs, but they're doing okay. Launchpad Skills says it's going to be minus 10 degrees in the Netherlands for a week. Can my Japanese quail survive? Yes, they can. And I'm assuming you're talking negative 10 Celsius. I've had my quail down to -5, -6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is much colder than negative 10 Celsius, and they do just fine. Well, Joe, what part of Oklahoma are you in? Because I'm betting it's about the same, honestly. Ken Zane, you want to see the dog? Well, he's not in here right now, but you watch my videos, you'll see him. He shows up all the time in my videos. He's almost always out there while I'm filming. Singleman, yeah, no problem for the reply on the nest box. I'll tell you, sometimes I don't get those messages whenever you guys send me a message through Facebook or through YouTube instead of commenting on a video. Sometimes I'm a little slow to respond to those because they don't come up in the normal comments feed. It's a little bit difficult for me to find them. So if you sent me a message through there and I didn't respond to you, send me another message through there and I'll do my best to try to respond to you. Zachary, they want your website typed out. It's not a website, it's a Facebook page that you can order through. There it is. He got it. Z&C Pack Leader Dog Treats. Just look it up on Facebook and you should be able to find it. Oh, look at that. Alex is asking about the doe. Okay, I got some exciting news about the rabbits. If you guys have been watching for a while, you know, terrible rabbit breeding season. Bred the first doe, and like I said, I didn't expect her to have babies. She didn't. She didn't have any babies whatsoever. No nesting behavior at all. So it was, you know, no pregnancy. Had good fall-offs from the buck, but pretty sure the buck was sterile. So bred the new doe to the new buck, and she was due today. She actually had her babies yesterday, right in the middle of the ice storm. So, I mean, I shouldn't say ice storm, right in the middle of the freezing rain. But she did fantastic. She built the most beautiful nest, had them all tucked down in there, pulled a bunch of fur on top of them. They all seem to be doing just great. I got 9 babies out of it. I got a video coming up, probably Monday night I'll post, and I'll show those babies off. But anyway, got about 9 babies. One of them looked a little bit weak, so I may end up losing him, but still 8's a pretty good litter count, so I'm not going to complain about that too much. All right, what do we got here? Lisa from West Virginia, welcome. And Joe, you said you're near Oklahoma City. Yeah, I bet we're getting about the same weather. It's usually near Oklahoma City, goes through Tulsa, and then comes up through my area, usually about a day or two behind you guys. So it's probably about the same. All right. Well, Tyler, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for saying hello. Jasmine's incubating duck eggs for the very first time on day 8. Well, good luck with your upcoming hatch on that. If you watch my incubation videos and stuff, if you need help on that, it's the same process for duck eggs. They're just a different timing. And I can't remember exactly, but I think duck eggs go like 20 days. Is lockdown like day 18 with duck eggs? I don't remember exactly. I know I put that information in the video, but I can't. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I can't remember what day they go into lockdown. But everything, I mean, it works exactly the same way. You just go into lockdown at a different time. Jonathan Roy says, hey, what should I do? I have a doe that is scared of my buck. She let off some sound like a little scream. You know, Jonathan, that's not that unusual when they're breeding. If it's actually the doe, you know, in the process of breeding and she screams a little bit, it's not that unusual, especially if she's first time. Generally, it's nothing to worry about. Every rabbit's a little bit different. They act a little bit different. Sometimes you'll get bucks that scream whenever they breed. It's not a bad thing. It's not a sign that they're in distress or they're in pain or any of those kinds of things. It's just different temperament of the rabbits. That's all. Maddox says you bred your mini Rex, had 6 fall-offs. Boy, you should have a pregnant rabbit there then. Thank you for the congratulations on my rabbits. I didn't catch who said that, but I saw it slip by. Yep, Singleman, winter harvest for the wild ones is about over here. Yeah, you're right. It is, in fact, I think here in Missouri, I think rabbit season ends, I think it's already over. I think it only runs till like the 1st or 2nd week of February. Zane wants me to get ducks. Well, you know, my wife wants ducks, and I wouldn't mind having some ducks. So who knows? You guys may see some ducks coming on here pretty quick. Adams TV wants to know, are they skittish, and do they lay eggs like regular quails? Oh, button quail. They're not as prolific of layers as Coturnix quail are. Coturnix quail have been domesticated for centuries, going back to, you know, Egypt and, you know, who knows, forever. They've been domesticated, and they've been bred specifically for their egg laying ability and their fast growth. So they are going to be your best bet if you want good egg production and you want good grow out rates. Button quail are awful small. Their eggs are much smaller. You can raise them for meat and eggs, but they're not your best choice for that. Hopefully that answers that. Sean, you sold all of your quail, been in and out of town. Well, I'm going to be out of town next week. That reminds me, let me tell all you guys, just in case you guys know how this goes, if you've been on here before, I've got to make a business trip next week. I'll be out of town. I'll be in the Dominican Republic. And so I will do my best to try to get a live video shot Thursday night. But I haven't been successful at doing that the last couple of times I've been down there. I've tried. I just couldn't work it out. Who knows? Maybe this time will be different. I don't even know if I've got a good enough internet connection there to do it. So anyway, if you guys don't see me next week, it's because, well, I'm on a business trip. Can't help it. Oh, excuse me. Let me get a drink here. My mouth will dry. Sarah says you just put your first set of jumbo quail in the Uber hen. our homemade incubator last night. You call it an Uber hen, huh? That's a great name for it. So, well, good luck with that. Hopefully that works out well for you. I've seen a couple people make some homemade incubators. You know, when I was a kid, we hatched, my grandpa made an incubator, and it was just a couple of light bulbs. We hatched chicken eggs out in it, and just a couple. But it worked, and it was just a couple of light bulbs, 60-watt light bulbs, not LEDs back then. They were regular incandescent bulbs, and on a dimmer switch, so you could adjust the temperature to it. Not very scientific, but it worked. We hatched them out. All right, Sarah, any tips for jumbo versus standard for incubation? They incubate the exact same way. So I've got a whole series on, if you go back to my homepage and you look for the playlist under storing and hatching eggs, that walks you through everything from, collecting the eggs, storing them, how to care for them while you're waiting to incubate them, how to, what to do before you incubate, what to do during incubation. All of that gets covered. It doesn't matter if it's a jumbo quail, a standard quail, a duck, a goose, a turkey, a chicken, egg, it's all the same. So just follow that. It is specifically, I'm incubating quail eggs in those videos, so the times will be exactly the same as what I did. Incubate them, put them into lockdown on like day 15, and then, I usually go day 14 because sometimes they start hatching out just a little bit early, but that should get it covered for you. Saw somebody talking about kits freezing. Sorry guys if I'm missing some of the comments. They're going by awful quick. What color do I think my baby bunnies are going to be, Chris? I don't know. It's a New Zealand red and a California buck. And the babies are all black. They don't have any fur. It's just the skin. The skin's all black. So I don't know what, I'm guessing they're going to grow out with the red fur. I don't really know. We're going to have to wait and see. All right. We're going to. I'm losing track of the comments, guys. So if I missed your comment, you may need to leave it again so I can answer that. Cora, you've incubated over 100 duck eggs since October. That's a lot of duck eggs. And you're ready for some turkey eggs. I don't blame you. Singleman, that's a good point. He says ducks are very messy. Make a deal with your wife that she has to take care of them. I don't think she'd complain too much about that. I've got a pretty big area out there. I mean, I own the 2 lots right behind my house. Somebody came by several years ago after I'd already bought this house, and if you guys have seen some of my videos, maybe where I walked out to the back, my lots in the back, kind of past where I keep the quail and all that, there's a ditch that runs across the back side, and then on the other side of that, there's old abandoned railroad tracks. It's just now like a walking lane. There's no railroad that runs through there anymore or anything. And then there's like some factories quite a way, so I don't have any neighbors behind me, nothing like that. But the lot that was right behind my house and the one right next to it behind the neighbor's house, the guy that owned those came by and he was wanting to sell them. He offered them to the neighbor. The neighbor turned them down, offered them to me, and I got them for, I want to say I paid like $1,200 total for those 2 lots to have. And I bought them mostly just so I could keep anybody from moving back there, but I got all kinds of room back there now, so I could throw, a pretty good sized pen for ducks and things like that. Who knows? We'll see. Uncle Mike's Crazy Artistic Homestead Madness. Wow, that's quite a name. He says, I'm in Missouri. I just finished building an aviary. Then I heard quail require a permit, so I decided to look into Chukka partridge. You know what, Uncle Mike? Uncle Mike, I'm just going to call you Uncle Mike. So bobwhite quail do require, but not coturnix. Coturnix are not native birds. The reason bobwhites require a permit is because they are native to Missouri. So any kind of native animal, any kind of native bird that you're going to keep in captivity, you have to have a permit to do it. It's not really that hard to get a permit if you wanted to keep bobwhite, but if you're planning on raising coturnix for like meat and eggs and things like that, there's no permit required for those. My channel says, I want to raise quail but don't want to hurt them. Well, there's no reason you have to hurt them. If you don't plan on butchering them and eating them, there's no reason you have to do that. If you want to raise them just to have them as pets, just for the egg production, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, it looks like LLJ is trying to answer somebody's comment that I missed for me. Thank you for that. Must be a question about getting a doe to breed. So, Brandon, let me answer this question first. Brandon Pierce says, wants some ideas on where to get Celadon eggs. Yeah, you can order those from Kansas City Quail Farm. Tell him I sent you. I talked to him just the other day. He's doing fine. Business is pretty good. He's got lots of orders coming in. Says lots of people have said that I recommended him to him. So keep doing that, guys. Whenever you go do business with him, let him know that you heard from me. You heard him from me. Great bloodlines, good guy. He has JMF, James Murray Farms. I don't know if you know who they are or not, but big name in the quail industry. He has his bloodlines. He sells the jumbo pharaohs, the jumbo meat makers, all kinds of different breeds, and he's got Celadon egg layers, so you can get Celadon eggs from him. All right, Zane. Zane says, for eggs, how many jumbo quail would you raise for a family of 7 people? Well, it depends on how many eggs you eat. Generally, when I eat eggs in the morning, I eat about a dozen. About a 12-egg omelet is about the same. It's like 2.5 to 3 chicken eggs. So if you plan on eating 3 eggs a day, take that times a dozen. Take that times the number of people in your home, and that's how many birds you need. So consider they're going to lay about 1 egg a day, roughly. If you don't plan on eating eggs every single day, which, I mean, I don't eat eggs every single day, and they tend to build up on me. There's a family of 3 here, and they tend to build up on me more than I can eat. But anyway, hopefully that gives you some ideas. I can't tell you, I don't know how many you guys are going to eat, so I couldn't answer that completely. But quite a few birds if you're going to want a lot of eggs out of them. All right, where are we going here? I got to jump down here a little bit further. I'm getting lost in these comments. So, okay, that's cool. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Okay. Yep, Uncle Mike works just fine, huh? It is a long title for your name there. Yep, yeah, no problem with the Coturnix quail. No permit needed for those guys. Getting started on homesteading says, we just got a litter of 11, and they are 3 weeks old and doing fine. A litter of 11 rabbits, I'm guessing? 3 weeks old and doing fine. That's good to hear. Oh, I bet you got a litter from your existing rabbits, didn't you? Okay, congratulations on that. Good to hear. I'm glad they're doing well. Zane, I think I got that question kind of answered for you. Yeah, it would be a lot of birds if you want that many eggs. Armed American, we the people, huh? What does it mean if quail are laying 2 eggs a day? It means you got a super quail there, actually. I mean, it's not that uncommon that you're going to get 2 eggs out of a bird in a day, but you won't get, more than likely what will happen is you won't get an egg the next day. Or you only get 1. Then I mean, it's just, because they don't lay, it's not like they wait 24 hours and lay on the clock 24 hours. There's a time span in between when they lay. I don't know the exact, let's say it's 18 hours or whatever. And there's a chance where it could end up to where they happen to go through that time span both in the same day. So you get 2 eggs out of them in one day. But it's rare that you're ever going to get them where they're laying 2 eggs a day every single day from every bird out there. And if you do, then you've got some genetically super birds, I guess. All right. Jamie says, Xander's my stepson, says, I can cook very well, just like his dad. He said I'm actually better than his. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never had his dad's cooking, but I don't know. I cook okay, I guess. I do a decent job with it. I shared a few recipes. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen my video I posted, when was that, Tuesday night? Monday night? Tuesday night? I don't remember exactly, but it was on the quail recipe that I cooked up with the barbecue sauce, the bacon, and the jalapenos in there. Those are fantastic. You really got to try those if you haven't done that before. It's a little bit, like I said, if you watch the video, I had shredded cheese. Really, block cheese would have worked better for that. But it's really good. I really, really like it with blue cheese and baste it with Frank's Red Hot, like buffalo sauce, buffalo wings. But everybody else in the family doesn't like it that way, so I end up making it with the barbecue and the bacon. Jasmine, do try it out and let me know how it was, because everybody I've had, I tried it out. I think it was Super Bowl Sunday. I made some, and everybody loved them. I took some to work, let the guys there try it out. They all thought it was fantastic. So I haven't found a person yet that said it wasn't good. Are quail noisy? Well, Zane, I guess that's relative. It depends on what you consider noisy. Nowhere near as loud as chickens or a chicken rooster. But yeah, the roosters will crow. They tend to sound like, if you've got a lot of birds in your area, wild birds, songbirds that come around your bird feeders and sing and all that, they sound a lot like that, and chances are people are going to think that's just all it is. The hens aren't really that noisy. They make a little bit of clucking sound. It's not not at all like a, it's closer to like a cricket than it is to a chicken. They're not very noisy at all, but the roosters will crow. You don't need a lot of roosters, so that's good. But if you do plan on incubating your eggs, and if I can't remember, I'm getting mixed up here. So if you were I'm looking at the comments trying to answer your question. I forgot what I lost my train of thought there for a second. Sorry. If you were the one that said you didn't want to hurt your quail, it may not be a good idea to get to incubate eggs. It may be a better idea to buy birds because you're going to end up when you incubate eggs with a whole lot of roosters that you're going to have to do something with, or they're going to be crowing like crazy, and they probably will drive you crazy. All right, so Mike Priest says, "Hi Chris, would you suggest planting beans and squash alongside sweet corn?" Yeah, you can do that for sure. That's the in fact, that's what they used to do with a Three Sisters garden, if you've ever heard of that. And that was where it's like a Native American technique. I don't know if it really is or not, but it's pitched to us as a Native American technique where they would plant corn, and then they would plant beans, and then they would plant squash all right together. So the corn grows up tall, the bean climbs the corn, so it gives a pole for the bean to climb, and the squash provides shade over the roots of the beans and the corn to keep them from burning in the hot sun and keep them a little bit less watering requirements. So yeah, they all grow together just fine. All right, Sean says he has rabbits in his backyard. They have a lot of babies. Anyone in Las Vegas, Nevada, come get them, I think is what you're saying. Yeah, well, wild rabbits don't make good pets. They typically die in captivity. Yeah, getting started on a homesteading, said just got new baby chicks. They're growing like weeds. They grow incredibly fast. For the first like 2 weeks, they like double in size like every single day. It's crazy how fast they grow. Randall wants to know, how many quail am I raising right now? Let's see. I don't have any young ones right now. I have 3 roosters left in a grow out pen. The rest of them went to Monday night's video and dinner for us. And then and they're old. They're like 4 or 5 months old. I just kept them around for a long time for no reason. Then in the other 2, let's see. I've got a hutch with my silver quail in it. I think there's probably about 15 or 20 of those. Probably closer to 15. And then in the other one with my jumbo, there's probably about 20 birds in there. So I don't know. That's how many I have right now. All right, Armed America, We the People, does fresh... Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry, guys. Comments going by a little bit quick here. All right, you have 27 hens. Armed America, this is again, I have 27 hens, 5 females, and 1 male, 2x2 cage for breeding, and they're producing 2 eggs eaten per day, 2 eggs each per day most days. Well, that can happen a little bit whenever you get brand new hens, but it's rare that you're going to be able to continue that cycle for very long at all. It's usually an anomaly, actually, I guess it is. Well, I popped the screen out, but the comments are going by awful quick. Thanks for the tip on that, though. But I do have the screen chat popped out. It's less than ideal for sure, but it works. It gets me through it. So, all right, what else we got here? Soldier Boy is asking about some quail. Can quail become sterile? Because I bought 5 months females quail, but none have laid eggs for a week since I bought them. What advice can you give me? Should I wait for another week or return them? No, Soldier Boy, wait. Somebody else asked if you have lights on them, which made me look back up to see your question. Quail almost always quit laying whenever you move them. Also, it's wintertime still, so the days are pretty short. Unless you have a light on them, they're not going to start laying until the days get a little bit longer. They take about 14 hours a day of light in order to lay on a consistent basis. But any kind of stress factor, like moving them, is going to cause them to quit laying usually for about 2 weeks. It's common. It's nothing to worry about. Give them time. As long as you have 14 hours a day of light on them, they'll start laying again in a week or 2. Give them time. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. I had a friend who has quail, and I had him make them, and oh my gosh, delicious. Quail are pretty good. I agree. If you like, if you like dark meat on other poultry like chicken or dark meat on turkey, then you're probably going to like quail. It's a dark meat bird. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It's very, very good. All right, Adam TV says, how do you make quail go into its coop at night? I know they don't need to sleep in a coop at night. I just want them in there just in case. Thanks. Well, I think you're going to have to pick them up and put them in there. They don't do. They just pretty much just wherever they're at. That's where they lay down. They don't tend to get into any kind of box and anything. So I don't know. I don't know that there's a trick. Unless you keep all their food in there, then they might hang in there most of the time and then just get lucky and go to sleep in there because that they're hanging in there with their food. I don't know any other way, honestly. All right. Zane lives in South Dakota. We get down to -18 in winter. Do you think they would be okay in a shed with a window? Yeah, I think they'd be fine. Keep the drafts off of them as long as they can get out of the wind and there's not like wind blowing on them constantly or anything. I think they're going to do just fine. All right, Sean, they're meat rabbits, I think, New Zealand. I do not know. They're not wild. Oh, you got meat rabbits running wild in your backyard, huh? That's interesting. Soldier Boy says, thanks. I think you mean you don't have light on them. Would they need it? Yeah, they need light, especially this time of year. Because it is wintertime, so the days are so short. You're only getting, here we're still only getting like, 9 hours of daylight a day, I think, something like that. They need about 14 hours a day in order to lay consistently. All right. Wow. Let's see, we got a lot of activity going on here. You guys are talkative tonight. All right, my question was, how does rabbit meat taste compared to chicken? Okay, this is Armed American, We the People. How does rabbit meat taste compared to chicken? It's very similar to chicken, probably because that's what most people are familiar with. I've often told people, they say, well, everything tastes like chicken. Well, that's because that's what we understand. That's what we know. If we ate different diets, then everything might taste like squirrel, or everything might taste like rabbit, or, because it's really, all those meats are kind of the same. You've really got a couple of different kinds of meat. You've got red meat, which is like your deer and your cow and those kinds of things. You've got your poultries, which is like your chicken, or white meat, I guess. So chicken, rabbit, squirrel, most of those things are going to be white meat. And then you've got fish. And that everything kind of falls into one of those categories for the most part. So it's very similar to chicken. It's a little bit more bland. It doesn't have as much flavor. At least domestic rabbit does. Wild rabbit has a little bit more flavor to it. But it's not, it's incredibly lean. So you don't have all the fat that chicken has on it. And it's not, the fat that is on it is not, it's not bad, but it's not real good like chicken fat is really good, So it doesn't do well fried, I don't think. In my opinion, it gets a little tough if you fry it. It does better baked or pressure cooked or, crock pot, something like that. So hopefully that kind of answers that for you. But you're going to want to use something when you cook it to flavor it up a little bit. It takes on flavor really well. I usually put chicken stock in with it. There's any number of ways you could do it. All right, where are we at here? Adams TV, how do you make a quail sleep in its coop at night? I think I already answered that. Where are we at here? With respect to breeding quail, this is Jasmine. With respect to breeding quail, is there any concern with inbreeding? There's always a concern with inbreeding, but it's not a big concern. I find that generally you're okay to breed, and this goes with pretty much any animal. You're okay to breed father to daughter, or mother to son. So you're not going to end up with too many problems as long as you're not like constantly raising up roosters and hens together and breeding those together. If you're just adding hens into your existing flock with the one rooster, you're going to be okay. I tend to get a little bit of new blood and add it in about once every year and a half or so, just to mix it up a little bit. It's not a major concern. You're going to be able to go quite a while before you have any kinds of problems. All right. Singleman says New Zealand rabbits are very territorial, much harder than Callies or Dutch to handle. I kind of agree with you on that, Singleman. I think in general that doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions to every rule. I've had some New Zealands, and I've seen some New Zealands that were just like pets. I mean, you could just pick them up. They didn't care. They were mellow as could be. But in general, the New Zealands are going to kick more. They're just not as easily handled as your Californias. Those are way easier to handle. That's my experience, and again, in general. All right, is it bad to inbreed quail? Okay, this goes back to the inbreeding question a minute ago. Actually, no, it's not bad to inbreed them, and it sounds kind of gross to us because we're not used to this. But inbreeding can be very, very useful for you. It accentuates the good traits in your animals. Now, it also accentuates the bad traits, or can accentuate the bad traits. So like in rabbits, it's a little bit easier. Or no, let's talk about quail, aggression. If you've got birds that are aggressive and you're inbreeding, it could make the offspring even more aggressive. Or it could introduce aggression into them when you may not have noticed that in the parent birds. On the other hand, if you've got big jumbo birds and you breed them, it can make the offspring even bigger. They carry that gene and they strengthen that gene pool. So inbreeding is good up to an extent. And again, that's the daughters to the fathers or the mothers to the sons. You really don't want to breed brother and sister. That's pretty much always bad. But you can get away with it a little bit more in quail. You don't have to worry about it too much. With the rabbits, it's a little bit easier to control and a little bit easier to keep a handle on. All right, so hopefully that kind of answers that question. All right, what do we got here? Chloe, I always say Chloe. It's Chloe, isn't it? Chloe, I've tried breeding my rabbits 2 times and the babies died. Should I try breeding her or leave her? It kind of depends. If 2 times, that's 2 strikes for sure. If she does it again, I definitely get rid of her and replace her. But I don't know the situation around the 2 times. I don't know exactly what was going on, what was happening at the time. It is definitely a bad sign. I would say I wouldn't hold out much hope for her, but I generally give my rabbits 3 times, 3 strikes before I get rid of them. And, I've had rabbits sometimes that their first 2 litters were just terrible, and then they were the best mothers ever after that. So you might try to give her one more chance, but usually after 3 tries for sure, it's done. I don't have time to waste any more on that rabbit. All right, I Love Games says, if I'm traveling and someone is taking care of my quail, should I separate the males from the females? There's no reason to. I don't know why you would want to necessarily. I just leave them all just the same way as if you were there. I leave mine together all the time. In fact, it's probably a bad idea to separate them because whenever you come back and you go to put them all together, they're going to fight with each other like they're brand new birds, like they're all new to each other, and you're going to have to go through that whole pecking order thing all over again. So it's probably best not to separate them. Adams TV says, is it normal for a bobwhite to roost instead of sleeping on the ground? Because my quails do that, and it's kind of weird. It is kind of weird for bobwhite to roost instead of sleeping on the ground. Quail in general are pretty much ground birds. They really don't roost. Not to say they won't jump up on a branch or something like that, but they generally don't hang out there. So yeah, that's strange. I don't know. That would be a trait that maybe if you isolated that and you were very selective with your breeding, you could breed quail that would roost. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely odd. Sharky says, I was late. Well, hey, you're not that late. All right. Well, thank you, Sean. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. All right, Adams TV, what feed do you feed your quails? And is 24% feed good for them? I feed mine game bird starter. If you can't find game bird starter, turkey starter, it's about the same thing. It's a crumble feed, and I feed that all the way from, when they come out of the incubator on. That's all they ever get, all the way up through adulthood. 24% is not bad. I like to shoot for a little bit higher. I feed at 30% right now, but I like to get anything around 27% or higher. But 24% is okay. If that's what you can get, that'll be fine. Don't stress about it. You're going to do okay. Yeah, Singleman says lean is an understatement for wild rabbits. Even the bone broth is spare. Yeah, I think so too. I see people making bone broth out of rabbits all the time, and I think, boy, is it even worth it? I can't imagine that it would be, but who knows? I've never done it, actually. All right, Uncle Mike, again, coming back. The person I was going to get quail from has like a ton of different kinds of Coturnix. Is there any type you think would be best or easiest, I guess, to have? Okay, this is my experience with that. Get whatever you want. If you've got one that you really like the way it looks, then by all means do it. I've got some silver quail out there just because I think they're cool. I like them, so that's why I keep them around. But if I was going to go with just one kind of bird, to me, the standard browns are by far the easiest to manage. There's just less aggression in them. Not that they're not aggressive at all, but like the A&Ms, they're not even A&Ms most of the time, but the white quail that everybody calls A&Ms, those things are, in my experience, are incredibly aggressive. I had more problems when I had those with them fighting with each other, pecking each other's eyes out. I mean, just all kinds of issues with that. And I don't really have that many problems with my jumbo browns, or my my jumbo pharaohs, or the standard brown size that the standard size browns that I used to get. Plus, you can easily feather sex them. You can just look at them and tell that's a rooster, that's a hen. So that makes it pretty nice too. But if you're just looking for one kind, you want egg and meat production out of it. It's hard to go wrong with like a jumbo pharaoh or a jumbo meat maker. If you're just looking for eggs, you don't need to go with jumbo birds. You can go with standard size birds. But the jumbo pharaohs and the jumbo meat makers, those two right there are going to be your best bet for a dual purpose egg laying and what else? Meat bird. So hopefully that helps. Sharky Vasquez subbed to someone in the chat just now. Well, somebody in here got a new sub. Does your dog ever try to get the rabbits or the quail? Well, you know what? Good question, Zane. No, my dog doesn't really try to get the rabbits. He's a pointer pit bull mix, and he's got enough pointer in him that he's incredibly interested in birds. But he's got a really soft mouth. Like I had a bird get out the other day. I didn't even know it. I was out there feeding him. I don't know how the thing got out. Somehow it got out and got past me. I didn't even know it. And excuse me, I heard some noise back behind the quail hutches, and I looked down, and he's got this bird in his mouth, and he just brings it back to me. Just comes right back to me, and I put my hand down there, told him out, and he spit it right out in my hand. It was fine. I put it back in the hutch. It was fine. And he had a hold of it for a good 2-3 minutes. So, no, he's not an aggressive dog. He doesn't try to kill him. Now, I'm sure if I left him there alone, yeah, he would probably end up eating that bird. But he's not bad. And he just pretty much ignores the rabbits. They're too high up for him to get to anyway. Armed America, We the People says, what's the best way to marinate rabbit meat? Well, you could try brining it, with just like a salt water, a brown sugar brine, something like that. I have never really done that. I usually just pour some chicken stock in when I cook it, and that's enough, and that works out pretty well. You can marinate it any way you would marinate chicken. It's going to do about the same. Adams TV missed what I said about bobwhite quails. What I said was, it's very rare for them to perch, to roost. They're ground-dwelling birds. It's not a common thing that you see at all. So you got an anomaly there, a weird bird. And I said you might be able to actually isolate that gene, do some selective breeding, and breed a whole bunch of bobwhite quail that will all roost. I don't know. It'd take a lot of time, but you might be able to do it. All right, Joe comment says, hi, Chris. I got my little giant incubator today. Step 1, getting ready for the summer. Step 1, getting ready for the summer. You got your little giant incubator. Well, nice. It's like Christmas time, isn't it? You can't wait for eggs to come so you can start incubating them. Well, congratulations on your new incubator, and mine served me well. I use a little giant. It works great. I hear all kinds of people talking bad about them, but I don't have any problems. It works really well. Armed America, We the People says, what's the best seasoning for rabbit meat? And that's very highly subjective. It depends on what you like. Season them up like you would chicken. Cavender's Greek seasoning is one of my favorites. One of the quick, easy things that I do with rabbit quite often that works out really well is I buy those McCormick bag-in seasonings at Walmart, grocery store, wherever. The spice aisle, it's a McCormick and it's chicken, and it comes with a plastic bag that you put the chicken in. You're supposed to put 4 cups of vegetables, whatever vegetables you like. Put the chicken in, sprinkle the seasoning mix over the top of it, tie it off, and then bake it. Works great for rabbit. It's very tasty and very good. So that's an easy one. Very quick, very simple, cheap. You can do it with, you can do it all kinds of different ways. To say the best, it's hard to say. It just depends on the mood of the day. All right. I went to order Coturnix this year and got put on a waiting list. You're making a big impact out here, huh? Probably put on a waiting list because it's that time of year. Nobody's birds are laying real well right now, unless you've got them indoors under lights. They're just starting to lay. And if you're in Missouri like I am, my birds are breeding, my birds are laying, but heck, the eggs are freezing about half the time. So it's really hard to get a bunch of eggs together, and it's not even worth trying right now. It's going to be another month probably before I can get any eggs together to incubate. All right, where are we at? Let me get another drink here. All right, this is LJ. What's your opinion on building a greenhouse around rabbits for next winter? I'm brainstorming and trying to come up with ideas for water and such. You know, a greenhouse is not a bad idea. What I would say about that is you're going to have to be very cautious to make sure you vent it very well. Greenhouses, even in freezing temperatures, can get very, very hot. Rabbits don't do well with heat at all. Now, LJ, if I remember right, you're up in like New York area, I think. So it's, it gets pretty cold up there. But yeah, you're going to have to make sure that it's vented really well. It's a good idea to keep your water from freezing if it stays warm enough to do that. But I don't know. If it's in direct sun, I think I would avoid doing that. I just think it would be too hot for them. But who knows? Let me know your experience if it works out. All right, Luis Ramirez. My quail pecks the male. Why? My quail pecks the male. Why? Oh, that's pretty common, Luis. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. That's pretty common. You're going to see hens all the time that pick. If it's just one hen and you've got a group of them, and it's one hen that's singling the rooster out and picking on him all the time, you might just get rid of that one hen. Sometimes you get a hen that's just overly aggressive, but a lot of the times it's just a pecking order that they're establishing. You give them time, they'll get over it. Just kind of keep an eye on them, make sure they're not doing too much damage to the poor guy. You may have to pull him out and let him heal up a little bit and then put him back in. But that's just, quail are like that, especially if they're new to each other. They haven't, you take a bird from over here and a bird from over here and you put them together, they're going to fight a little bit until they kind of learn where they fit into the pecking order. Sharky Vasquez subbed to Singleman. Singleman, you got another, single man, I guess it is. You got another sub there out of Sharky. Do Pharaohs make good quail meat? Yeah, Pharaohs make really good quail meat. Jumbo Pharaohs and jumbo meat makers are pretty much the same. They're not much different. I think the Pharaohs lay a slightly bigger egg, and the meat makers are slightly bigger bodied. But if you just looked at them side by side, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. They're pretty close. Zane liked my shirt in the cooking video the other day. Well, I didn't realize I was wearing that shirt. I probably should have thought that through a little bit better. I just threw a t-shirt on and was, going about filming. Got several comments. Lots of people liked them, but there was one or two people in particular that really did not like that. Thought I was making some kind of political statement after the recent events, and that was not my intention at all. It's just a t-shirt that I wear all the time. So if you guys watch my videos a lot, you'll see that shirt a lot. But anyway. All right, Chicky Poppins Poultry. Boy, that's a tongue twister, is specializing in rare chickens and Coturnix quail. We have over 20 different breeds. Is that your Armed American? Is that like your poultry, I don't know what you call that, your business? Is that your farm? You call it Chicky Poppins Poultry, and you sell the birds and things? I'm not sure who that is. I've never heard of them before. All right, Crystal Marshall says, have you ever had a rabbit pull fur and run around with hay in their mouth a week before they're due? I put a nest box in to be safe, and it's been 2 to 3 days and no babies. I think she is just an early nester. It happens from time to time. Most of my rabbits, it's like, if they're running around with straw in their mouth, it's going to be like that day. They're going to have babies that day, almost always. And they never pull fur until like when the babies are born. That seems to be like when they always pull fur. But sometimes you get rabbits that are a little bit earlier. They'll do that up to a week ahead of time. It's not that unusual. I'd give her at least a week. And you should know when 30 days is. Give her at least until like day 35 or 36 before you give up on them. All right, LLJ, yes, it does get very cold. Adams TV, I got a subscriber. I got the subscriber. Good deal. All right, Joe Comment says, my bee high, we will be licked up till the weather gets warmer, so I'm starting to get ready for my first batch of quail. Your videos have been a huge help. Maybe, I don't know what the first part of that means. Joe, you got some typos going on or something. It really autocorrect got you on that. But yeah, getting ready for the weather to warm up so you can hatch out some quail, and I'm glad that the videos have been helpful for you. All right, do hens crow? No, hens don't crow. I vent sexed one of my birds several times with no foam. He has crowed several times. Well, unemployable, if you were vent sexing them during the off season, like during the winter time when they weren't laying eggs, when they didn't have enough light, the males aren't going to produce foam at that time. That only happens during the breeding season. So just like chicks won't lay eggs without 14 hours a day of light, males don't produce that foam and start crowing without 14 hours a day of light. They're a little quicker to get into it. You almost always hear your roosters start crowing before your hens ever start laying eggs. But still, that may be the reason why you didn't get any foam. All right, Joe Comment says, beehives, what do you know of, oh, beehives, what do you know? Autocorrect messed it up. Okay, so your beehives will be locked up till weather gets warmer, so I'm starting to get ready for my first batch of quail. There you go, that makes sense, Joe. I don't have any bees. I've been thinking about adding them. Who knows, I might do that someday. You wanted to do a colony, this is LLJ, wanted to do a colony cage combo and was thinking to build a mini greenhouse just for water, but they may chew that up. They will chew that up if they can get access to it. Good thinking, though. That's a great idea. If you could find some way, maybe if you put a frame over it made out of cage wire, and then you had just like a hut that they could, like maybe a tunnel that they could get into it without getting actually access to the greenhouse plastic itself. If that, you kind of understand what I'm saying. Maybe hardware cloth or something like that, since they're not going to be sitting on it. Hardware cloth would be fine, and that'd keep them from getting a hold of it and chewing on it, and that would give them the ability to get in there and get water and then get back out. So that would work great. That sounds like a great idea to me. I don't know about a colony setup, though. In my opinion, and it's up to you. If you want to do colonies, but in my opinion, I don't think it works well. There's a huge amount of mess. The rabbits are going to be, I mean, especially if you're keeping them on the ground, they're going to have a higher chance of parasites, disease, and some of those kinds of things. It's not worth getting into right now. If you want to keep colonies, go ahead and do it. If it works out well, great. Just my personal opinion, I don't like them. It's not for my, not what I'm into anyway. I guess I should put it that way. All right, Caleb says, I have a doe rabbit. I've tried every trick in the book and can't get her to breed. I keep taking back any suggestions. Okay. All right, Caleb, so you got a rabbit that doesn't want to breed. Very, very common. A couple of things that you can do, and if you've tried everything already, if you haven't added light, add light. 14 hours a day of light seems to help. This brings me up to another point, which I'll maybe, if we have time, I'll talk about here about light. Somebody remind me about that when we're done, and I'll tell you a story real quick. All right, so add light. 14 hours a day of light, that kind of helps get them in the mood a little bit. But the biggest thing that I usually do whenever I have a doe that doesn't want to breed is just keep trying. Put the doe in with the buck, leave her in there for 10, 15 minutes, watch them. If there's no breeding activity, take her out, put her back in her cage. And then try again that evening, and then try again the next morning, then try again that evening, then try again the next morning. Usually about the fourth or fifth time, the doe's ready to breed at that point. Sometimes you can switch cages. Take the female out, put her in the buck's cage, and really put the buck in another cage if you can, but if not, put him in her cage and leave her in there for 24 hours, and then take her out, put her back in her cage, put the buck back in his cage, and then bring her back to the buck. And sometimes that will work. I've heard people talk about putting them in a pet carrier, driving them around, and then bringing them, and they're ready to breed. I don't know why that would work, but some people swear by it. So there's a couple of things that you can try that might work. All right. All right, so Armed American We the People, that is your certified poultry business. You are NPIP certified Chicken Poppins Poultry. So great name. All right, Colleen Parrish says, I have a New Zealand buck that has grown larger than my New Zealand doe. The does are experiencing delivery complications or could this be because the buck is too large for them? It could be, but I find that highly unlikely. I mean, if it's all your does that are having those problems, then maybe. Seems kind of odd. Are you sure it's a New Zealand and not a Flemish Giant or Flemish Cross with a New Zealand? I mean, that could be causing it to grow much bigger. Even then, though, I don't I don't think that would cause that many problems with the pregnancies. But heck, if that's what's happening, then that's what's happening. Houdini Two Wheels says, "How did you grow your subscribe?" I just produce content and people like it and they subscribe. So that's how I did it. It wasn't any kind of secret. Just continued to produce content, do my best to serve serve you guys and to provide you with information and to answer your questions. That's all I did. All right. Yeah, single men, you got the right idea. Those that don't breed make great stew. He's right. That's, in my opinion, if you've got a doe that's like that every time you try to breed her, get a new doe. Life's so much easier. The Toasted Rabbit says, what types of quail should you avoid crossbreeding? I've read that some hybrids will be born sterile. Well, you're getting into a topic now that's, yes, hybrids are typically sterile. It's like a mule. A horse and a donkey, they produce a mule, and it's sterile. But when quail, Coturnix quail are Coturnix quail. It doesn't matter if it's a standard brown, a Pharaoh, what do you call it, Texas A&M, an English white, a silver. Those are all Coturnix quail. And breeding those together, it doesn't matter. They're always going to be producing fine. Not to say you won't have any sterile, but no, it's not a problem with the crossbreeding of those. They're all the same species. Now, if you tried to breed a Coturnix quail with a bob white, I don't think that's possible at all. But if it is, then yes, their young would be sterile. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Going to try light. Did all that, but the driving around. Okay. Good luck with it, Caleb. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully your doe will breed. I do my best to answer all the comments. All right. LLJ says, we wanted to have cages for them, but have a fenced area enclosing the cages so I can give them time to stretch when I clean their cages. That's how we do it in the basement, and it's fun to watch. Oh, so yeah, you're wanting to build a spot for them to where you can just let them out for periods of time to run around, and then put them back in their cages. And yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Why not? Oh no, Colleen, you lost one, huh? Well, I don't know, Colleen. If you're saying he got huge, he may not be in New Zealand, or he may be crossed with something else. If he's that much bigger than your other rabbits, hard to say. Well, I'm glad you guys like the comment or the content that I'm producing. Thank you, Singleman. How often do I turn the wired in compost pile? How often do I? I'm not sure what you're asking me, my channel. How often do I turn the wired in compost pile? I don't know if you're asking how often do you turn a compost pile. It's up to you. If you want compost really fast, turn it. As soon as it starts cooling down, it'll start. When you turn it and you add a little bit of water, it should start cooking. It'll get hot. It'll get warm. When it starts cooling down again, turn it again. That'll probably be about every 4 days, every 3 days, something like that. All right, Sharky's taking off. Good night to you, Sharky. Hey, I did want to let you guys know about something before we close this out. I'm looking at developing a course for raising quail. I get a lot of questions, the same questions over and over again, which is fine. I don't mind answering them at all. But most of the time, it's a question that I've already answered or addressed in another video at some point, and it's just getting difficult to go back through and find those videos because, let's face it, YouTube is great at serving up content, but it's not necessarily great at organizing all that stuff and putting it in a nice little, type package. So I'm going to be creating an online course for raising quail, and it's intended to be, in a sense, it'll be like every video I ever produced on quail, but all in one condensed, organized package. It'll take you all the way through everything you need to know to raise quail in your backyard. Your backyard, your balcony, your deck, the same thing I say on every video. And I've got the pre-registration up for that, so if any of you guys are interested in that, you can pre-register for it. I'm right now in the process of writing the outline for that. You guys will hear more about that as it gets closer. And I am going to look for some beta testers when it comes time for some of you guys that might want to get early access to that and help me with, whenever I'm producing the content, you'll get access to that. You'll be able to see that content as it comes up, provide feedback to me, and help shape that course to make sure it's something that is going to meet everybody's needs. So if you guys want to register for that, it's very easy to find. It is at, excuse me, my throat's drying out again. It is at SlightlyRednecked.com/quail course. That's it. SlightlyRednecked.com/quail course. And you guys can pre-register for that. You're going to give me your email when you do it. I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell your email address. Don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. It'll just be used to contact you for relevant things about that. And if you don't like, me contacting you on email, you can always unsubscribe from me later. So anyway, wanted to tell everybody about that. If you guys would like to pre-register for that course, go and do it. All right. Rabbit tractors. I think they're probably great for grow outs. I wouldn't raise my rabbits like my breeders. I would keep them in cages just because I don't want to put them on the ground. That's how they get fleas and parasites and, disease and all those kinds of things is really coming in contact with the ground. But for grow outs that you're just going to grow out for a couple of weeks and then eat, I think rabbit tractors are a great idea. But that's pretty much what I would do. That's pretty much how I would use the rabbit tractors. All right, we're getting pretty close to ending this. There was one other story I was going to tell you guys about. I don't care. Hopefully I don't offend anybody with this story, but if I do, honestly, I don't care. So, and Colleen, I probably will do a rabbit course. In fact, you guys let me know what you want to see. If you'd rather have a rabbit course first, I can do a rabbit course first, and then I can do a quail course, or I can do either one. I just started with quail because it seems to be that's what most people are asking me about in the live chats. That's what most people are really, that's where most of the questions revolve around is the quail. And it's the same questions over and over and over and over again, which is good. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind answering them. But I feel like I could serve people so much better by putting all that stuff in one place where they could have access to it, go back and review it every time, a little bit easier to follow, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea for that. All right, my story. Oh, we were talking about light. I got to thinking the other day how often I'm talking about people, and, asking the same question all the time, how often the answer is add light. Your quail aren't laying eggs, add light. My doe doesn't want to breed, add light. My plants are getting leggy, add light. It's almost always, light is part of the answer somewhere in there. And I got to thinking how important light is for us as human beings even. I mean, there's three things that pretty much every living thing needs. It needs food, it needs water, and it needs light. And shelter, you may say, as well. But those three things are kind of the bare minimum. And it really hit me that, when I open up my Bible and I start reading my Bible, it talks about God is light. It says that. God is light. And it talks about that many, many times. It talks about Jesus is the bread of life. And I think that, I don't think it's accidental. I think it's by design that we rely on light so much that he gives us that to relate to. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. So, let's see, what do we got here? I got one vote for quail course. I got one vote for rabbit course. Well, heck, maybe I'll put up a maybe I'll put up another page for where you can pre-register for a rabbit course. Whichever one gets the most, that's the one we'll do first. How's that? See you later, Sharky. All right, guys. I got to get this wrapped up. If you guys want the quail course, go pre-register for it. I'll be sending out some things here pretty quick on that, and we'll get going. I'll come back and put that. I'll probably do a separate video and announce that to you guys, so you'll have the link to where you can get to it. And give a shout out to Chicky Poppins. You're gonna have to come back and remind me on this one, Armed American. I'm gonna forget that. Not that I intend to. I intend to remember it. I'm just gonna forget what you're called. So you'll come back and leave it in the comments somewhere after this live broadcast ends, because the chat goes away whenever it does. So I got to wrap this up, guys. I got to get off here. I got to quit looking at comments, or I won't quit talking. Thank you so much for joining. Hopefully I will see you guys next week. But again, I am traveling next week. I'm out of the country. So if I don't join on a live broadcast, don't hold it against me. I'll be back the week after that. But I'm going to do my best. I'll try to get a video shot next week in the Dominican Republic, sitting in my hotel room or maybe out by the pool or something. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you hopefully next week. Have a great week, everybody.